Welcome to the Smart Money Tribe podcast. I'm your host, Arese. I'm the founder of smartmoneyafrica.org, a financial education platform tailored to the African Millennial woman. But I'm probably best known as the author of two best-selling personal finance books, The Smart Money Woman and The Smart Money Tribe. I love having money conversations that encourage African women to think bigger and become the chief financial officers of their own personal economies. This podcast is a weekly show that will focus on powerful conversations, stories, and practical lessons that teach African millennial women how to make money, keep money, and grow money. Hi, potties. I hope you've been doing great. So I'm super excited about this episode because you know that my ultimate goal is to be a Pan-African brand on a global stage. So I thought it was important to introduce more African voices on the podcast. So not just Nigerian women, but women from other parts of Africa who are willing to share their stories with money and how they've built their careers and businesses. So our first Pan-African guest is Irene Kiwia. Irene Kiwia is a champion of socio-economic development for Africa, whose career spans over 17 years in media, marketing, communications, technology, and development programs that are focused on youth and women empowerment. She's the founder of Frontline Media Africa, a tech-driven Pan-African media and communications company. She's also the founder of TWA, an AI knowledge-sharing and mentoring platform for women and girls from Africa to the world. She's also the founder of Ecoba, an AI-driven fintech company designed to integrate underserved financially excluded populations in Africa into the financial ecosystems through community savings and lending platforms. Listen, she's so impressive. On the non-profit side, she's the co-founder and president of the Women of Achievement, a non-profit organization that works to support women and girls to achieve social and economic transformation in East Africa and beyond. Some of Irene's other accolades include being the 2010 Fortune U.S. State Department Global Woman Leader, 2014 Global Health and Diplomacy Fellow, 2015 Woman of the Year Africa by Africa Reconnect, 2018 Obama Africa Leader, 2018 African Women Innovation and Entrepreneurship Forum. Listen, I could go on and on and on, but she's such an impressive lady, and I'm really excited for you to hear her story and how she's built these phenomenal businesses. Enjoy. Hi, Irene. You're my first Pan-African guest, and I'm super, super, super excited.
Wow, what a big honor. Thank you so much, Arese. Such a pleasure to be here.
So Irene and I met when I was going on my book tour for the Smart Money Woman. So I went on a Pan-African book tour across Africa, and we have quite a few friends in common. So I think my friend Wambita Makamba introduced us, and in South Africa, right?
Yes, it was in South Africa, yes.
So Irene is from Tanzania, but we met in South Africa. And then when I was trying to come to Tanzania for my book tour, she was so instrumental in making sure that it was a success. She booked me on everything, TV, radio. Like there were interviews every day, bloggers, like it was back to back. This woman is a mover and a shaker, and she's such a blessing to have. Like every time I think about that time and how successful my Tanzanian book tour was, and the exposure that I got that I didn't pay a dime for, my mind is still blown. So thank you so much, Irene.
It was such a pleasure. The work that you're doing is just so profound. And I'm a big believer of supporting other women and collaborating. And I'm a big Pan-Africanist. So it was just a pleasure to host you. And we should bring you back, Arese.
Trust me, you don't understand how my soul is hungry to come back to Dar. I can't wait to be back in Tanzania. Again, I can't wait. It's funny because of all the African countries that I've gone to, is actually my top 3. Like in terms of like how much love Tanzanian women show me, which is quite strange because I don't speak Swahili.
Yes, but you cannot put language in inspiration, right?
Yeah.
So yes, it doesn't matter that you don't speak the language, but the fact that you're doing what you're doing and you're inspiring a lot of people beyond Nigeria. So, Arese is so celebrated, not just in Tanzania, but also in Kenya. After we did the panel discussion on Women's Day, everybody from Kenya, from Tanzania, they kept sending us messages on how fantastic and fabulous you are and how we should bring you to East Africa. So
that means
let's just that conversation.
That means so much to me. We have so much work to do together. This pandemic just spoiled it. But Irene, I really wanted to share you with my audience. And I want you to talk a bit about, because you have such an interesting journey. I want you to talk a bit about how you started. How did you make the decision, to start your career, to go into business in media and in tech and international relations?
Yes, so it started very early on. When I graduated from high school, I was inspired to get in media. I was watching television one evening and there was a beautiful presenter. And I looked at her and I said, oh my God, this will be something that I would love to do. Yeah, so I went to a local TV station, actually it was an East African TV station, and I was there every day for a whole month and I was able to get a job. So that's really how my career started in the media. So when I was at university, I was studying and working in media. So I was a radio presenter and a TV producer and presenter. So by the time I graduated, I had already built, a nice network of people in the corporate world and, across different industries. And I always wanted to have my own business. So I was one of those people who, graduates and go on to set their own businesses. And at that time, because it was 2004, it was not the thing, right? Entrepreneurship was not a big deal as it is now, where a lot of people are exploring it. So I think over 95% of my peers who graduated with me went on to get employed. So nobody really understood what I was doing. It took quite a while. So I set up my media, PR, and communication company, Frontline Management, which, now is 16 years old. We are in Tanzania and Kenya, and we're coming into other markets as well. But so that's where it started, just fresh from school, and that is all I have ever known, working for myself and building my own ventures.
It's so amazing. It's so amazing how much I wish I could describe how much power you have in terms of making things happen in media in Tanzania and Kenya. It's like the most amazing thing that I've ever seen. Irene was taking your meetings on boats, calling me and saying, oh, should we do this? Should we do this TV station? Are you interested? Should I call up the owner? It's amazing. But obviously you've done something for 16 years. You build a valuable network, you build a valuable base. But what would you say that has been your biggest struggle, your biggest challenge in building your business in Africa?
So it has been many things, and I will highlight 3 of them. Yeah. So one of it is I have always been one of those people who dream big, right? My dreams always scare me. Mm-hmm. And in dreaming big, it means, I love challenging what is happening. And I see myself as a pioneer in so many things that I've done. Even starting a PR firm in 2004, it was not a thing. Public relations was not even an industry, to be honest. I would spend so many hours just educating my potential clients on what public relations is. And then, so first education, then, this is how it will add value into your business. And, so it took me a while to manage to get a client base. But once it started, it never stopped. So I love championing new things, new agendas. So that is a challenge because it takes time for people to really understand what you're doing. You actually look like a mad person, right, at the beginning, up until it makes sense and then everybody else adopts, But I thrive in that environment. So that is one of the challenges. And then the second challenge is, I love my continent. I love my country. I love my region. But there are still so many things that needs to happen for some of the things that I would love to do to thrive or to be sustainable. We still have issues of regulations, issues of conducive environments, issues of, good infrastructure that will provide great resources and tools for some of the things that I want to do. So we're still a long way to go. So it's a challenge and an opportunity at the same time. So I would love to see, especially in my journey in technology, to see more things being done in terms of regulation and, on how governments and how the private sector and how people understand technology, so that we are able to consume products and solutions that make sense and that makes our lives better. So that is the second thing.
Tell me about Toi. You launched that a few years ago.
Yes.
And I was so blown by what you had created, because you've told me about this, about Toi, when you had the idea and you were building it.
Yes.
But experiencing it for the first time was so amazing. I was so, when your friend has told you about an idea and then you see it come to life, I was so proud. But talk to us about what Toi is and, your challenges building that.
Yes. So Toi is actually, I like to say it's a 14-year journey of my work realizing my purpose. Yeah. So it started 14 years ago as an idea because I saw a necessity to create platforms for women in Africa, which by then it was women in my country, to access role models, to access capacity, to access mentorship, and to have conversations that will be informative. So we created a corporate social responsibility out of my PR and media company, and we would identify young women leaders in rural Tanzania. And my vision was, to champion the women agenda, to launch women leaders, to shine light on some of the women who are doing amazing things so that more young girls in Africa can get inspired. All the way to 2015-16, from 2008 when I started working in women and girls empowerment programs. So in 2016, I realized that, first of all, what I was doing was not a Tanzanian issue. It's something that is a challenge across Africa. And with the adoption of technology, it makes sense that, I use all the knowledge and all the learnings from all these years of running these programs to create a tech tool that can do exactly that. So we went into building a pilot, and by 2018, I think, or 17, when we met, I couldn't stop talking about it because I've been talking about it for years. And, so last year in October, we were so excited to finally launch the product. So it's a portal for women to network, connect, access mentors, share content, share knowledge, position and brand themselves, share services and products. It is built by women, for women, and it's such a crucial tool. And we say, people who will be using Toi will be forced to, just really extract value in their personal growth, their career growth, and their business entrepreneurship growth. So we are currently rolling it out across Africa and globally through women networks and influencers and champions like yourself. And I'm just so excited about this journey. Some of the challenges that I encountered when I was, launching this platform. First of all, I come from a media background. And then I was just moved by my passion and purpose to empower women. So exploring technology was such a foreign thing. And before that, when I would hear technology conversations, I would like shut off, because I'm like, oh my God, how, what are they talking about? I don't get it. So exploring technology, was a new territory for me. So I didn't know where to start, how to start. Luckily, I was able to get a mentor, one of my friends who was already in that sector, and she helped me build the prototype. But then, I was given the prototype and, I'm like, what do I do with this? So I quickly realized that it doesn't work like that. I would need to have a consistent team that I can work with so that I can build a product that is robust and that is, I can sustainably grow. So finding the talent to put together a tech team, that will do this was another challenge, which led me to find partners and, build a technology incubation in another market. It took me to Kenya, where, we went on to build a tech hub. And, one of the products that we launched through the hub, through the lab is Twa, but we also managed to launch 12 other products out of it.
I love it. So this sounds like such a huge project, a huge undertaking. Was it something that you needed to raise capital for? And maybe walk us through that process.
Absolutely. It is a huge undertaking, but, we all understand how challenging accessing capital is in Africa for women and, in technology. So I realized, coming from a business background where I'm a businesswoman, I've always run my own companies. So I realized that I needed to invest in it myself, so that I can create enough value to be able then to go raise the real money, right? So it's personal investment, and I found my initial partners who we went to build the hub with are also co-investors. So it is what we call bootstrapping, right? When you put your money where your mouth is. And now we're talking to investors and, VCs to say, here is a product, these are the use cases and, where's the money at?
I love it. Are you having any challenges with that? What's the scariest thing about pitching to investors for you?
So, wow, the challenges are so many because, again, remember what I said about, I just like challenging things and, I always want to do things different. And, so the current setup, most investors, especially in technology, most of them are not Africans because we're still into brick and mortar investments where we want to see, touch, feel, whatever it is that we put our money into. So we are heavily relying on foreign investors, but they're coming from a very developed environment where, their rules are different, right? So they come with those instructions and they are looking to have the local companies that they're exploring investing with, meet those criteria, which is a massive challenge. So that is forcing me and my partners at the lab to look into a way that will change this, whether it's to raise, enough capital, and, so that we are able to create a friendly investment environment for not just us, but other people, so we will see. But I am so driven and so motivated. And what I want to do with Twa is to list it in New York Stock Exchange in the next, 2 years, 5 years, who knows?
I've seen it work, honey. So I know that this is possible.
Thank you for believing in me. So it is a challenge, but we are battling and we are rolling on and we are at it, and we will get it done, whatever it takes. Yes.
I love it. So I want to move on to sort of the personal finance conversations now.
Mm-hmm.
one of the biggest things that I find when it comes to making money, and whether you're a businesswoman or whether you're working in the corporate world, is the challenges with negotiating compensation, right? Whether you're trying to get a contract or whether you're trying to, negotiate a promotion, I find that women often find it a bit more difficult. So what have you done when you're in those situations where you're trying to negotiate compensation for yourself with your clients, with potential clients, with maybe you're trying to get a contract, from the government? What do you find has worked for you to help to increase compensation?
So, I mean, you said it so well. We are challenged as women, and it's not just because there's a lot of conversations on employed women being paid less than their male counterparts. It's the same even in business. I believe, especially at the beginning when I started my business, I believe that male counterparts in the same field would probably we're getting more payment for the same services than I was getting. So I focused on creating value. And one of the things that we did very early on was to partner with an international company, Porto Valley, which is a US-based company that is present in 80 countries. So now when we went to negotiate, we're not going in, as this new company, female-led. We presented ourselves as a global company that is a part of a bigger, larger network. So we understand that we needed to get market value, and because we focused on quality and value creation, we were able to get the value back from our clients. But it's not been easy. It's a continuous challenge, right? And once you understand that, this is the market value, and, this is the value of my services, you stand firm by it.
Okay, so let's go back a little bit on your journey. I love that you just said that you got to a point where you had to partner with an American company. And I love, the idea so much, because sometimes we tend to, as women, we tend to play with like small ideas. We don't think enough about scale. So when I see women doing it like big, thinking bigger, thinking about how can I play, globally, how can I play in a Pan-African market, is so inspiring to me. So what led to that? What led to you? How did you make the decision to partner with this American company, and how did you close that deal?
So it's actually a really interesting story, and I love talking about it because it humbles me. It came from so many needs. One of it being, for me to achieve my vision, which was to build a global company. It's something that I've always wanted. When I was at university, I would sit and dream about, this company that I would build, and I'll be traveling to Europe and the US, for meetings. Like, my vision has always been that. And, I was like a child. Children don't really think about, if I do this, this will happen. They just go with faith and do whatever it is that they need to do. And that is how much faith and conviction I needed to have. But it came from that. To do that, I needed to learn from the best. So if I'm to learn and get international or global standards in what I'm doing, I realized that, okay, so I need to collaborate and find a partner who would be able to give us that knowledge transfer and give us that, global standing or global stamp, so to speak. And it was quite a journey. I think I sent over 1,000 emails. I spent so much time researching online for all these PR companies, global companies, what they were doing, finding contacts, sending emails. Hello, my name is Irene Kiwia. I am in Tanzania. This is what I'm doing. Like, I must have sent over 1,000 of them from when I started the company in 2004 to around 2009, when I was nominated by the US State Department and Fortune 500, Fortune Most Powerful Women Forum, to go on a global mentorship program where they were identifying young global leaders, women leaders, and pair them with Fortune 500 CEOs and, put them in this program for a month. And the reason I was nominated...
My mentor did this as well. So that was another person that we had in common, because I remember after I met you at One Vita's, she was like, oh, I know Irene. We did this Fortune program together. She's brilliant. So that was like quite the experience.
It is. So Tara, amazing woman. So we were in the same program, same year. And the reason I was nominated for that program wasn't because of my business. It was actually because of my work with women that at that time we were running as a corporate social responsibility. So I was nominated in this program. I ended up being mentored by the president of Porta Novelli, one of the companies that I must have sent over 100 emails to introduce myself. I never got any response, of course. So you know how fate works, right? So obviously, by the time I'm meeting my mentor, I had already prepared everything because I knew I needed to come home with a partnership, and I came home with a partnership.
Wow. What do you think convinced him? What was that conversation like? I wish I was a fly on the wall in the room. And I want you to sort of share that, because there are many women who want to start businesses, want to have this big, idea. And when the opportunity arises, they're not adequately, prepared, or they stumble when they maybe hear no, or maybe. So what was that like? What do you think sold him?
It was actually hard because it was female CEOs, but like you've just said it, being prepared. I always say, if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there. If I don't know where I'm going, it means if I leave my house now, get in a car and end up in Nairobi, I didn't have a destination. If I end up in Nigeria, I didn't have a destination. You know what I mean? But if I know that I have to go to point B, it doesn't matter what will happen along the way. I know I need to go to point B. So I know what tools I need. I know how to, what to pack. I will know who to talk to. Like you prepare. It's like when you're going on a trip, you have a checklist. So that opportunity met me when I had a checklist. Global company, global partnership, and I was already in that roadmap. So when I met this lady, it was literally my first introduction. Hi, this is what I would like to go back with. I was so prepared for it.
I love it. Love to see it. So, what did you do with your first paycheck? You started this business. By the time you start paying yourself a salary, what did you do with your first paycheck?
I gave all the money to my mother.
Interesting, because in Nigeria we have that tradition as well, where your first salary is like your first fruit, and they always encourage you to give it to your parents, like a thank you. Is it something like that? Is this a cultural thing? Was it?
It wasn't based out of culture. I just was waiting for so long, to get real money so I can, do something meaningful to show my appreciation to her. So I remember that's what I did. I just gave all the money to her. And it was just to say that thank you and you will be fine, mommy, type of thing. So that's what happened.
Okay, so what is your investment strategy? So how do you decide how you want to invest, what you want to invest in, and all that?
So it's only in the late few years where I have like given it a structure, right? But I have always thought, first of all, equity in business. So my building a portfolio of companies that some I will run, some other people will run. I believe in that, and even in that particular model, I started seeing the need to even invest in companies that will outlive me, and that is why it was so important that I went into technology, because PR, media, and communication is a service industry, right? And service is heavily dependent on people, on me. So I wanted to invest in something that will outlive me. And technology was quite a big deal. It was ideal, and in the last, like I said, in the last couple of years, I am a part of over 10 tech companies. So diversification in it, and some I'm running, some other people are running. So that is one, and another thing is real estate. So I love real estate. Actually, I think my next career would be in interior designing and all those great things. So I believe in real estate, and I have this thing. It's like a drawing. Think of it like a round, a circle, and you split it into 5 boxes, right? So one is the business, your business that you have. So the businesses, whether it's whatever it is, company, consumer goods, whatever it is. The other thing is investing my talent into something that I can monetize. So your interest, your hobby. How can you make your hobby work for you? So this is my philosophy on how I go about investment. Another thing is real estate. So, whatever it is, because you can do real estate in so many different ways. You can flip homes, you can do rentals, you can buy and sell, or you can just, there's different ways, right? Or you can co-own. There's many ways to do it. So real estate, and then commodities. Which I have not explored yet, but that would be something I'd want to get into. And then you have your paper investments, so stocks and bonds and shares, things you put in a folder and lock down and you wait. I'm into that. And I always feel like one of the things that I would like to have is something that many people will have in their pantries. So invest in a product that is a necessity. So once I fulfill this 5-compartment strategy is when I'll know that I've done what I needed to do as far as investment is concerned. But yes, I've done a couple of things around that.
I love it. So basically, you have a pie chart for your investment portfolio where you're like, 20% is going to come from the business that I run every day. Another maybe 30% goes to businesses that other people run. Another percentage goes towards real estate, and another percentage goes towards commodities and paper assets. Amazing. But Irene, I also know that in East Africa, SACCOs are very popular.
Yes.
So do you want to explain what a SACCO is and how they work?
Awesome. That is my favorite topic ever. I can talk about community savings platforms and community savings models all day long. I know in Nigeria you call them susu. Is it susu?
So we have different names. Esusu, Ajo. So it's the different names in different languages.
Okay. Okay.
One and there's Ajo. But it's very similar.
Okay. So, I mean, when we talk about sub-Saharan Africa, one of the things we need to understand that is, over 80% of sub-Saharan Africa is in the informal sector. And when you look into the informal sector, over 80% of that informal sector access financing through community savings platforms. Formal financial services like banks and micro lenders and all of that, I think it equates to between 16 to 20%, and I'm being very generous. That is what it equates to when it comes to people who are bankable. So the rest of them are only able to access finance through community savings groups. And there are so many different models, from very informal merry-go-rounds to very formal structured susus and chamas, to SACCOs, which are more formal with registrations, etc. So, but this model has existed for so many years, almost 20 years or more. And it has sustained so many communities, that population, but it's not transformed them. So in Africa, in Tanzania, where I have grown, my country that I love so much, I have seen this. My mother, my friends, everybody, if we go out and talk to every other person, they will tell you that they have either one or 3 or 5 or even more than 8 community platforms where they're saving money. So this model is the only way that we are able to create value for the informal sector. Because when we talk about industrializing Africa or building all this value where Africans can create wealth for themselves or create wealth for their countries and the continent, the reality is that. So we first need to address this issue and build value into this issue, because that model has so many flaws. There's lack of visibility, even though some of the members, would be in community savings platforms for years, they still cannot access formal financing because you're as strong as, how much you and your group is able to save. So we've actually built a platform for that, and we're rolling it out in Kenya, Nigeria, Zambia, and Tanzania. We can create value for them and bring in formal financing and, create value chains and bring in more support, build capacity, increase markets. So it's very exciting. It's called eCoba. And I tried this model with a group of my friends just to understand, what it means and where the strength is. It is a powerful, powerful tool.
So the way that the SACCOs work is basically a group of people come together and say, we want to invest our savings, and they do this continuously and use that savings to sort of buy property or land. Because I know that's a big thing in Kenya.
Absolutely. People, save enough money together to buy land, to launch businesses, to, create new companies, because it's easier to access financing through that. And it has to be a long-term plan, because I know other people save and each end of the year, each one takes the money. That won't work. It's a long game where we save. When we have enough, we decide, are we buying land? Okay, we're buying land. We continue saving and we're able to develop that land. Or, we save enough to invest in real estate and, we now reap the benefits of that real estate. And that is when it really works, when you invest the savings into something that works and grows your money.
I love it. When we were discussing this in Kenya at one point, I remember thinking, wow, this is so phenomenal. Not because savings platforms like this or community savings is foreign to Nigeria, but just in the way that it is done and how it's become so mainstream in Kenya with women championing it. But what I found interesting was, and this is my opinion, in Nigeria, I was thinking, if we popularize something like this to help people go beyond saving and start, building wealth long term, right? I can see some challenges that we would face. For example, if you come together with a group of people and you start saving money, and then the plan is, to buy property or to invest in stocks, we might have best intentions when we start out, but maybe somebody comes and says, oh, my brother-in-law is doing one other business and is going to give me higher returns than this, so please, I want my money back. Or people just trying to make withdrawals consistently. And I thought, listening to a lot of East African women talk about SACCOs, it sounds like majority of them think very long term when it comes to saving and investing. So it's not, let's jump on the next thing that seems bigger. It's not, oh, I have a problem, so I need the money now, right? It's like that money is there for long-term investing, and they're typically quite patient. Is this your experience, or have you had challenges with any of the groups that you've been in? Have there been times where, what are the obstacles? So for people who maybe listen to this and decide, oh, I want to start saving, with my friends so that we can do XYZ with the money. What have been the challenges the biggest challenges that you found going this route?
So there are many challenges, because at the end of the day, it's people and it's money, right? And we know that when there's people and money, things are bound to go crazy. So it's very, very important. And I think this is how in East Africa, Tanzania and Kenya specifically, where I have seen this in practice, we have managed to do it well because we put structures. So when a group is formed, there's a constitution that is designed, there's rules and guidelines, and the entire group agrees to those guidelines. There's investment strategies. So even though it's an informal group, but it's structured and run and managed in a way that gives it structure. And we are so fortunate, especially here in Tanzania, because when this model was being introduced, it was championed by a woman called Devota Likokola, Honorable Devota Likokola. She invested a lot in building capacity, in educating, and in creating the tools, the documentation, the model. She literally institutionalized it. So it's almost like a practice where it's plug and play. If we are to do it today, there's a constitution template that we can take. We just adopt it to our needs and we agree as a group. There are sets and procedures. So at a point where someone comes in and they want their money back, the rule says maybe you get maybe 80% of it and not all of it. You understand? So even though it's informal, but it's managed with formal guidelines. And I think, this is why when you put technology at the center of it, it makes it even more valuable, and it can create much more wealth, because now you're able to track all the transactions, the group savings pattern, there is record keeping, there's KYC, identity of the people behind it. So if I go to a bank and I show a group that's existed for 3 years and they see all this data, they know who is behind it, they see the data, they see how, the group is been saving, how they lend to each other, who pays when, how, we can now bring in more value into that group, which is what we're trying to do.
I love it. This is going to be so amazing. I write about this in the Small Money Tribe, about how women can collaborate to compete. And what you speak about, the constitution, is extremely important. So that going in, because it's like a marriage, everyone has good intentions when they start, but problems arise and you have to have a formal way, a written down way in your constitution about how you deal with disputes, how you decide what investments you're going to make, what investments you're going to stay away from, and all of that. I think it's a very interesting model. I'm excited to see how you're going to launch Ecoba and use tech to sort of improve upon the idea. So what skills would you say that you have had to build to become this successful entrepreneur, especially like in this climate?
Wow. Many, right? And so many skills. And one of it is obviously learning to be open-minded and being ready to learn. That has been one of the biggest things I've had to really get good at. Being open-minded means, being open to engage and interact with things, people, and explore beyond what I think is area of focus. Because if you confine yourself in what you think is what you need to confine yourself, you will be, you will miss out. The world revolves very, very quickly. So I've learned to be open-minded, to be a researcher, and to learn and to want to know what is happening where. So I'm able to use all of that to my advantage. That is one. Another thing that I had to learn is, to understand that I am perfectly imperfect. I don't need to know it all. I don't need to do 100% excellent and really look down on myself, because I started my company at 25. I was young. I was a CEO of this company that was doing something that was not even popular, and for me to get contracts, I had to talk to like top level directors, whether it's CEOs or marketing executives, so you could see the gap. So I had to very quickly learn to be confident and, to hold my own, right? And not to be too hard on myself and not to let fear hold me down, because it was quite scary. You're going to pitch something to someone who, has been in business for years, and you're trying to tell them that, this is how it needs to be done. But, when you have confidence and when you understand your subject matter, which is where you get confidence from, and you believe in it, you speak and act with conviction.
I love it. I think that we don't talk about this enough, but as women, there's this internal narrative that a lot of us have. We're always second guessing ourselves, or always thinking, oh, what if it's not good enough? Or what if I don't have enough of the skills, to be asking for this? And I feel like I spoke about this at the TWA International Women's webinar, when I said, even at 35 years old, I find that I'm still second guessing myself to the finish lines. I have these big ideas that I want to execute, and I'm thinking, okay, I can do this some days, and some days I'm like, Arese, who do you actually think you are? Like, to think you're going to do this. Who do you think you are, that you're going to turn a book into a TV series and convince all these brands to come on board? Yes. But I think it's important for us to, continue to remind ourselves of our accomplishments, and, fine-tune that internal narrative so that fear doesn't take over.
Absolutely. And another thing that is so, because there was a third thing I wanted to add. I had to learn to collaborate, right? Because you're as strong as, your collaboration. I cannot do everything on my own. So I'm very open-minded when it comes to working with people, partnering, asking for help, because that is the only way I can get to where I need to go quicker. I am open to that to a point, to a fault rather, because I have seen how critical it is, not just in terms of knowledge sharing, but also capacity, resources, widening networks. And there is so much that we can still accomplish, there's abundance. So we shouldn't be scared or limited and just want to do everything on our own.
On our own, I get that. So what would you say has been your biggest money mistake? So all these successes, what has been the one thing that you feel you did wrong? Because I feel like people learn a lot from mistakes.
So I think the biggest mistake that when I look back, I wish I knew better, would be building my house. When I got my chunk of money, I put all of that money into building my personal house, my dream house. So I wish I used that money and invested it in something else, right? So that I could get that value and then use that to then build the house. When I think about it, I want to go back in time and redo it, but it's done. Well, yeah, but yes, that. And go on.
What's so amazing is, often because we're taught that the dream is, build your own house. You want to live in your own house. And I can relate to what you're saying in that sometimes we forget that the house that you live in is an asset, but it's not an asset because it's something that costs you money. So you have the value, you retain the value, but it's not actually making you money like rental income. Instead, you're paying to maintain it, and that value is present, is there, but it's trapped in something that you can't necessarily use the liquidity to create other things. Well, unless of course you leverage it to get a loan and whatnot. But I can.
Yeah. And on when you talk about loans, that's another mistake. I always for so long was so scared of loans. So I did not even, dare do that. And, in that way, I always say that I've grown organically, and maybe it's taken me so long, much, much longer than, it could have. But it's the journey that I decided to take. I wish I knew more and learned more and leveraged more on loans, and that way scale quicker and do things differently. But we learn.
Okay, so let's talk about your childhood. What was your first childhood memory of money?
My first childhood memory of money. Wow. So I came from a very challenging childhood. I was raised by stepmothers. Money was not in the scene. Like I didn't see it. I didn't, it became a fantasy that I created in my head. But I believe, I'm grateful for that journey. But so I learned about money when I graduated from high school and got my first job, and I got my first, payment, because I was earning my own money, and I was able to do the things that I couldn't do, or I wasn't able to get because of living in that hostility. But I learned that there is such beauty in earning your own income because it's yours.
Like you said, it was a challenging situation. You didn't have access to money, so it motivated you to go out and get a job so early. That is so.
Yes, it did. And I was studying and working. When I was at university, I was working on a TV station. So, I had a daily TV program. I had a weekly radio program. I was doing part-time at an event company. I was putting makeup on brides during Saturdays. I was a promotion girl on Fridays. I hope my dad is not listening. So doing, those promotions for products. So yes, I wanted to make money, and I realized at that age, which is still a tender age, the beauty of making my own money and the freedom of it and the responsibility of it.
I love it. So if you rapid fire questions, when it comes to spending, what are your guilty pleasures?
I want to live in a beautiful environment, right? So I splurge on my surroundings. It gives me pleasure. I want to drink in a crystal glass and, sleep in I don't know how many thread counts bed sheets, so my living style is where I splurge a lot of money, but it's also where I am mostly nurtured, right? So It gives me so much. And I am not a big fan of, designer things, so I don't splurge so much there. I just appreciate quality things. So I'm more happy, having a nice leather bag that will give me, the time than paying for a brand. I don't mind the brands, but you know what I mean? So for me, I splurge a lot on my living surroundings and experiences, experiencing things. So it's experiential, but it gives me back a lot.
I love it. So if you won the lottery, if you won $1 million, what would you splurge on and what would you invest in?
So if I win $1 million today, I will actually take half of it, so in terms of investment, and invest in small businesses, women in small businesses, So find different types of women startups in fashion, in food, in consumer goods, those young, it doesn't have to be young, but, women who are building their small startups, who are looking for 10,000, 20,000, not that much money. But, it's important money because it will help them create competitive products. So I will invest in that. I will take half of it and invest in maybe, how many of those will be 10 or 20 of them, right? And create a good diversification portfolio. But because I also believe, I know how hard it is to invest or to find money and build a company. And I think, there's so much value in investing in local businesses because, that's the only way we are able to change the narrative of our continent in terms of how we create wealth for the continent. And the other half, right? So I'll definitely buy a condo somewhere, whether, in one of those, exotic places that I don't necessarily have to have it. So maybe in the Pyrenees, the south of France, because I love that area, or in Marrakesh. Oh my God, I will find a beautiful riad and buy it.
Please, I want to come when you buy it. I want to come and visit. We need to go on holiday.
Around Arese. So we can do an exchange program. I'll come to yours once you have $1 million.
Yes. So on a final note, what advice do you have for young girls who are trying to be financially successful and are listening, to this interview and all the amazing things that you've done and accomplished? What advice, do you have to leave them with?
So my advice would be, the most important thing that we can do is to create something valuable, whether it's a product, a service, a platform, just investing our initial time to create something valuable. Because once you create something valuable, the rest is history. You can monetize it, you can bring in funding, you can sell it, you can do so many other different things, and you can then use the value from it to do the next level of things. And the second thing is to have a plan, not to go about life, just existing, and whatever happens, it's happened. Because when you have a plan, you're then able to understand what you need to do to be able to accomplish that plan. It's like travel. I love using that example. If I know I'm coming to Nigeria, I know I need a visa. I know I need to call Arese so I can say I'm coming. Can we hang out? I know I need to pack. I need an airplane. You know what I mean? So all those things I need maybe to know how to greet in a Nigerian language. So then you become prepared and you're working towards something. It doesn't mean that the plan doesn't change. You need to also be open-minded to look around, to interact, to accept and access new things so you can evolve with time and be relevant.
I love it. Thank you so much, Irene, for being so inspirational. Thank you for the part that you've played in my own personal journey in becoming Pan-African. I'm really looking forward to more collaborations with both of us in both our countries and just across Africa. Wishing you the best of luck on all your projects and endeavors. Thank you so much for doing this interview.
Thank you so much, Arese. It's such a pleasure to be here. And I just want to say, you inspire me in so many ways, and please don't stop. And I love what you're doing in terms of showing that, we are able to get outside our borders. We don't need to be confined into our spaces, for as long as it's something that we want, we're able to do it. And we can only lead by example. So I just want to commend you for everything that you have accomplished.
That means so much to me coming from you, because look at a badass saying that I inspire her. You inspire me, girl.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Smart Money Tribe podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm super excited about creating financial content for African Millennial women who want to live a fabulous life, but also want to learn how to find the balance between spending on their lifestyle needs and building assets that could protect their financial futures.